It may be the smallest and most basic of BMW Motorrad's GS badged offerings, but the little G310 GS has plenty of the legendary GS character going for it. After the F650 GS was quietly discontinued a couple of years ago, BMW Motorrad was left without a lunar legal adventure bike in their lineup. Thankfully, not long after the arrival of the G310R, it was announced that there would be a GS variant of the 313cc single-cylinder bike, and that became the G310 GS. The G310 GS arrived in New Zealand in late 2017 as a 2018 model, and while it is a budget adventure bike, it does have a few bells and whistles that make it worth having a look at, especially considering it has that GS badge. Included in the package, which retails at under $10,000 at dealerships here, is an LCD dashboard display with all the info you need, from fuel monitoring to gear position and everything in between. As well as that, there is ABS back braking with a switch to disable the ABS, which can be done on the fly if needed. I didn't work that out until a little while onto the BMW GS Rally in Northland this year, but once I worked out that I didn't have to stop to disable the ABS or turn it back on again, that changed everything. That's something that is not offered on the CRF 250 Rally or many other bikes. That's not really a lot of tech when it comes to the adventure market these days, but at this end of the adventure bike spectrum, that is all you need. Any more technology would quickly push the price up out of that really appealing sub $10,000 price category. As the name suggests, the G310 GS shares a few components with the G310R, with the same engine and steel frame making their way onto the GS model. Even the LCD dash is the same. That said, it is mounted higher within the GS's new, very stylish fairing, and while some may bemoan the lack of a TFT as seen in the rest of the GS range, this again is offset by that cost factor. This bike is under $10,000. It is an entry-level bike. Styling is clearly inspired by the previous generation R1200 GS, with the beaked fairing looking very, very purposeful and very part of the GS family. Even the plastic shrouds that surround the 11-litre fuel tank feel sturdy, though I still really wouldn't want to test out exactly how sturdy they are without fitting some aftermarket crash protection first. While 11 litres of fuel though doesn't sound like much, combined with a tested average fuel economy of 4.4 litres per 100k, you should be comfortably seeing around 250 kilometres between stops. That's plenty of adventure in most people's books, especially since most of us are far from our optimum level of bike fitness. Now, the engine itself is a clever little unit. Utilising the same backward slant to the cylinder head that Yamaha has used on their successful dirt bikes for years, it's all in the name of mass centralisation. At 313cc, the little engine isn't a powerhouse by comparison to the other adventure bikes out on the market, but its 25 kilowatts, which is roughly 34 horsepower, is more than ample for the needs of this end of the market. Low-end grunt isn't really a factor with this engine though, as you'd expect it from being such a small bore machine, but get the revs up to 7,000 RPM and it really does sing its way right up to the 10,000 RPM red line. Peak power, by the way, only comes in at 9,500 RPM, so this is definitely a bike that loves to rev. When it comes to practicality, one of the things I did notice the first time I got on this bike was, even though it does have that GS styling, including the small windscreen, the screen doesn't really do a lot in terms of protecting you from wind blast. Particularly upper chest and shoulders really took the brunt. Adding a peaked helmet, you're going to get quite a bit of stress on your neck, but hey, you can't be an adventure rider without your peaked helmet, can you? Thankfully, out on the road, the rest of the bike is actually quite a peach when you're touring on the highway. The seat in particular is in need of praise. In a class where everyone seems to have forgotten that riders actually spend a lot of time on their butt, this is an outstanding seat. It is all day comfy, pretty much anyway. From the time I spent on it, riding a lot of Ks, never really had any problems. The only thing I can say is, because it isn't a flat seat, it does hold you in position a bit, so you might tend to get a bit of leg cramp if you're on the taller side of things. In factory setup, it's equipped with Metzeler Torrance tyres, but the most recent bike I rode actually had been upgraded to Mitas E09 tyres, much more enduro ready, and they absolutely transformed the bike. With the Metzelers, if the road surface became loose, it was pretty manageable really, but as soon as you started to push, you really quickly found the limits, particularly of the front tyre, where the Mitas E09s, absolutely knobby tyres, really let me push and push hard. I was able to keep up with all the big bikes, which I know is a big thing people think of when they're thinking about little bikes. They're thinking, oh, all my mates, they ride a big GS, or they ride a 650, 1000. Honestly, with this little bike, there was no issues at all keeping up, and that all came down to the tyres and the rider. One thing I will say for the ergonomics though is the foot pegs. If you're going to be spending a lot of time on the foot pegs, you're going to want to upgrade these. They are based off the G310R's pegs and are only about an inch wide. So if you're spending a lot of time on your feet, standing up, attacking stuff aggressively, you're going to quickly find a bit of foot pain. Which, hey, in the scheme of things, again, this is a sub $10,000 bike, it's not hard to replace foot pegs. So while it will never be as agile as a full-on trail bike, with the combination of the reversed engine, lightweight chassis, and confidence-inspiring ride, the little G310 GS is really an excellent entry point into that whole BMW Motorrad GS family. While it's never going to have the bling of the Hero GS's, it's never going to really outperform proper dirt bikes, or it's limited. It does have its limitations. When the Hero GS costs in excess of $30,000, the sub $10,000 baby GS is sure to continue along with the G310R and grow the BMW brand into the Lunar approved segment, and that is really what brands like BMW need. If you want to know more about the BMW G310 GS, jump online at www.onthrottle.co.nz for the full review.